I'm going to step back from the high caliber race car stuff some.
Okay.
Between this NSX and the 2J Civic we got coming up, it's just a lot of money and time to get them to run. I mean, just even dealing with this MR2 has already been enough. And it gets to a point where it's not as fun for me anymore.
If you guys want to see the BoostedBoiz car collection tour video, make sure you click the link pinned below in the comments. Welcome back to another episode of the Street Alpha Podcast. I'm your host, Tukes, and today we are back in Florida again. We're going to see a lot of content from Florida, but today we have the pleasure of stopping by my guy, Kyle's shop. Now, you guys know Kyle. I'm not sure if you want to be called Boosted Boy Kyle or...
I mean, as of right now, I'm technically Boosted Boy Kyle, formerly known as BoostedBoiz, but some people were a little...
Yeah, we saw that.
Stirred up some controversy. So I might just be known as BoostedBoiz from now on. We're all the Boosted Boys, apparently.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second real quick. But you guys know that he's swapped several different chassis, and he probably has around, what, like 10 cars?
Yeah, at least. And we got some back in Colorado, too, where I'm originally from. But the number's probably up there, at least 10, 15 for sure.
Yeah, so huge following. Would you consider yourself a YouTuber?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Definitely a
some people get offended by that, but, you know.
Yeah, I'm a YouTuber.
Yeah, so let's give a round of applause for Boosted Boy Kyle, or formerly known as BoostedBoiz.
Boosted Boy Kyle. I'm always Boosted Boy Kyle.
I'm kidding. Yeah, so it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast, man. You know, we drove all the way from, I don't even know, Melbourne or Orlando just to make this happen. We've been speaking for a while, but I had to make the drive, bro. Like, I had to make the sacrifice to come out here and get on the podcast.
Make it happen after I saw you at... what was that, FL2K?
Yeah, FL2K. Yeah, that was the last time I saw you. We spoke there, and we were both like dying in the heat.
Yeah,
it was like hot. Super hot. So yeah, there's lots to unpack, man, and I have a lot of questions for you regarding the K series. We've had several Honda guys on, but I think it's a big deal that you're on because you know this platform very well, just like others on the podcast too. But we can go into more detail as to how you get these in certain chassis as well. And then also the Tesla, like the Plaid situation, like that's so different and unique. And we can talk about how that's kind of influenced your growth in the channel as well, and how it's helped you, and what platforms kind of helped you grow to where you are today, and how they've changed your life. Because now we're in this property, which is crazy. You have your merch over there.
Yeah, I'm a Florida man now. It's just a dude that lives in Florida with some turbo Hondas, man.
Yeah. So it's great, man. I love to see the growth. So you mentioned before that you were a street racer, right? You primarily were street racing in the beginning of your journey with cars.
Yeah, that's really where it all got started. I'd watched other YouTubers back. I mean, this is probably 7-8+ years ago. Automotive YouTube wasn't huge back then, but there were definitely some guys back then that had channels. You know, even Adam LZ was doing his thing, but he was also doing a lot more BMX at that time. But there was some small grassroots channels back then that I would start to watch as I got more into cars as I got out of high school, and I started to kind of soup up my Honda Civic as I learned more and more about cars. I was always into like RC cars and planes, so I was always tinkering, trying to take stuff apart, figure out how it works, make it go faster or better.
Right.
And then that led to me kind of souping up my Civic, and I started, becoming friends with the local car guys in my area. We'd all meet up at Sonic, and that's like where I really got the bug. I'd show up. This was like after I just maybe motor swapped my Civic, and I was starting to know some things. I didn't know how to turbo a car or anything, like completely out of my expertise. Everything I have learned is just self-taught online. Back then it was like internet forums. So I'm going into this like with no car background at all, So I just loved like the speed, and like I just didn't understand how cars could be so fast.
Right.
So it always interested me. And then, I started hanging out with those guys, got a group of car friends together. We'd start going to meets. I eventually turboed my car. I wanted to be faster and faster than one of my buddies or his buddy who's like, there's always like the king of the group, like, but no one's touching him. Like, so it's like, I'm always going after the next like big boss, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And just trying to line them up, make the car faster and faster. And we started just filming a lot of it, putting it on YouTube because I looked up to a lot of YouTubers at the time, and I thought that'd be fun to start our own channel. I was like, hey, I think we have like a good group of guys around us, and like I felt like my car was pretty like respectable for what it was. Yeah. And I built it on like a super cheap budget, which I didn't realize that people would maybe connect with that. wasn't like my game plan. I just happened to be a dude that just was trying to make it happen with, very limited budget at the time. And we go out and street race. We'd film it. We'd go out every weekend to these big meets. They were like 2-hour long cruises. And I'd be out there in my Turbo Civic, and it made like 450 horsepower at the time to the front tires. And I was racing everything. I didn't care if I won, lose. Like, I was just there to have fun. I never was salty about losing or whatever. It's just like, is what it is. Pull up, on GTRs, Corvettes, whatever. And we just film our adventures, kind of just our banter between our buddies going to car meets and things like that. Mm-hmm. And the channel just kept growing, and eventually got to a point where we wanted to take it off the street because the viewership was growing a lot, and I didn't want to get in trouble. And I would always have to say, hey boys, we're going to Mexico tonight. Just kind of go from there. And then we eventually took it to the track, and then it's just evolved into what it is.
So you said Adam was Adam. Well, Adam didn't really do street racing, but like he was an influencer that you looked up to, I'm sure, because he was a big, he was actually was at that time. Was he even doing YouTube?
Yeah, he was.
Well, around what time was that? Because you said you're 28, right?
Yeah, this was probably at least 8 years ago when I was 20.
Oh yes, that's when
and it was. He was starting to make a transition from. I wasn't a full-time viewer of him, but I definitely saw a lot of his clips come up. I watched him and like Haggard Garage.
Yes,
if you watch those guys, they were a big inspiration too. And because I saw what they were doing, it's just a bunch of friends having fun. Yeah, and I was like, dude, we could do that. And they're just like, they're just slapping stuff together.
Right.
And that's kind of the same mindset I had. I was like, I think we're doing basically the same stuff they are, like same concept, but our cars, I felt like we're like performing, and I was like actually taking it the step further to like get real performance. And stuff out of it, other than just just having fun, messing around. So I was going like that step further to make stuff somewhat legit on that budget. But yeah, I'd watch Adam too. I think at the time he was like transitioning, maybe not transitioning, but he was also doing a lot more BMX content. And I remember coming across some videos of him and his, I think the first video I saw of him, he was like putting new seats in the cream S13 he had. And that was like, I started watching, I was like, oh, who's this guy? And I came across him, and I just come across other automotive YouTubers, and I was watching Mighty Car Mods, like all those kind of guys, and I just got more involved and just kept making content ourselves.
Did you ever watch any of the New York street racing or any of the stuff on the East Coast?
I can't say I have. No.
Okay.
I'm sure I've come across it, but nothing I watched.
Just curious, because like when you're getting into YouTube and stuff, maybe you're looking up some street races, and maybe you might have seen some stuff. Because I know there was some guys filming back then.
When it comes to street racing, the only one I can think that comes to mind is obviously 1320 Video.
Of course,
they've been doing it forever. So I was a big 1320 video. That was like actually a good way to put. That's like a perfect way now that I'm kind of thinking about it. Like our channel at that time was like a mix of Haggard Garage and 1320 Video in one. Like we'd get the friend vlog group, like messing around with our buddies. But then we'd also, the next half of the video is us on the street going 1, 2, 3, and just ripping down the street. So like it was a combination of the both. So I was fans of both, and I was like, how can we kind of do this in our own way? And that's just what we did. Just
you did mention when you transitioned your names from BoostedBoiz to Boosted Boy Kyle, right? You mentioned that your initial intention was just to film you guys doing fun stuff. It wasn't really for yourself, or because some people were saying that you kind of got some backlash about it. People were saying that you're doing it for kind of being selfish, but your intention was never to like have the channel be all about yourself.
No, not at all. I mean, I think of it completely backwards. Like when it started, I filmed from my perspective, and I was almost only filming my friends. You know? I would go out of my way to make sure like if someone needed help on their car, like I'd stay up all night welding a charge pipe for my buddy or something. Like I'm invested in your car just as I am into mine. Right. And so I liked that group feeling of it, because without it, it wasn't as fun. That's like just the homies getting together, building cars, just shooting the shit. Like that was what was fun to me. And, eventually just grew, bigger than we had ever imagined. And then, you start to get in that, you start to face the reality of the business and friends and mixing it all in. And it's a whole new learning curve that it's just, when you're that young, you don't like, you think you got it figured out. Oh, we're chilling. But then it's like when real stuff comes up and like real money's coming in, and, you start to learn a lot in those situations. And I did my best to balance it through, and I was always, super supportive of my friends, and just, that's the whole channel, even up until now, I'm going around filming people's stuff, and I could have easily just focused on me, like, right. But I think the best part about the car community and all that is just like being together and having like-minded people around you, just having fun. Right. That's why I like to do it.
So a lot of people want to get into content creation, or a lot of people want to do automotive YouTube, right, or car content, and they may have a similar situation to you, where you start filming your friends, and then when things start to get serious, they have to start realizing they're like, all right, well, people can kind of get greedy sometimes, and some people overstep their boundaries, and they feel like they're entitled to a certain amount of pay, and so on. So like, what would you say? What kind of advice can you give to people who are starting a automotive channel and have some of their friends involved? Like, do you think that it's ideal or maybe smart to kind of start the structure, because you never know if you're going to blow up, right?
Yeah, you really don't know. Like when I started, I literally had no intentions of it becoming a thing. At the time, I was going to school for welding. Like I was going to have a welding degree, and that was my intentions, was just to be like a fabricator or something. But eventually built into something. So it was wild to just be in that position, because it wasn't expected. I didn't start YouTube for the money, and I think that's a big thing today. Is a lot of people get discouraged, or maybe you work for a YouTuber or something, but nowadays it's like, even 5 years ago, even today you still see it, but even definitely like 5 years ago, you'd be like, I'm a YouTuber, and people would be like, how you making money being a YouTuber? But nowadays you're saying, I'm a YouTuber, and they're like, oh, you must be rich.
Exactly.
It's like it's completely flopped.
Yeah.
So back then I didn't know there was money to be made in it. Like I thought it would just be cool if we got enough viewers to like, maybe I could get some parts sponsored here and there.
Yeah.
That was like my dream. Like maybe someone will give me a free freaking air freshener or something. Just some like small parts, or like maybe a wheel sponsor. Like that would be like the ultimate thing. But I just wanted to do it for fun. And I think that's what stands out. I think that's what makes some automotive YouTubers stand out from the others, is like the reason they are successful and they keep going is because it started from a place of passion. And a lot of guys nowadays, they just see all these car enthusiasts or car YouTubers, content creators, and they're like, man, these guys are making money. I'm going to start doing that so I can make money. And I feel like when you get into it for the sole purpose of making revenue, it gets hard, and it's hard on yourself, and you get way more discouraged, because you're like, man, it's not, the money's not coming in, and it's not working out. When like the reality of it for me is, if YouTube stopped, I'd still be making videos, and I just have a part-time job.
Yeah, somewhere.
Or I'd have a full-time job elsewhere, and this would just be my hobby, but it would always stay my hobby, and I'd still vlog it, video log it. And it would definitely slow down because it wouldn't be full-time, but I just naturally had the desire to just make videos and film stuff with people, because I watched YouTubers growing up, not even car-related ones, and I was just like, that's cool. Like, I just want to be able to share stuff with the internet. I just thought it was a cool thing.
Do you feel like since a lot of you have a big following now, and people, your channel's grown to a crazy amount, right? Do you feel like your content is more tailored to the views, or you feel like you're still true to what you originally started with and just filming whatever you feel?
I think I'm still pretty true to what we started, because for one, it's hard to get off the way I'm doing it, because it's a simple recipe the way I do it. It's like, I love that I've been able to create a pretty core audience, and like some of these guys will probably just watch me eat a bowl of cereal. It just like, and it's a nice formula to like not have to always one up and go hard. There's the part of me that wishes like, man, I wish we could like step it up and I could go crazy, because not only would it benefit me obviously, but I want to be able to benefit more friends around me. Like I wish I could make enough to like just pay my guys, just an unquestionable good amount. Like, like if I could just give all my buddies like 200 grand a year, like snap a finger, like, yo, I'm making a lot of money. I'm going to give you 200 grand. Just come work for me. Right. And just like get all my buddies together. But then just managing all of it, making it all happen. And the reality of it is just, it's not like that. And then I would, going back to like what you said, the content, I don't want to get off topic there, but
you're good.
I've been able to stay in my own lane, and I haven't really ventured off into trying to like sell myself out, if that makes sense. The closest I get to is like, we'll do the ads in the videos, and like we're doing giveaways, which it's all stuff that, I'm not passionate about. Right. Like I don't like even doing the giveaways. I don't like doing the ads, but like, I still have guys that I need to support. Exactly. And it's the only way we're going to be able to grow, because our views don't offset that. I mean, maybe if we were doing 1 million+ views a video or something like that, a lot more things would be justifiable for us, but I'm going to do my best to take all things into consideration. I think we're pretty much doing the same stuff we did years ago, other than the street racing. I mean, I just did a video on the van. It was just a video of me like cleaning out the fuel system and like getting it running. Like it was nothing exciting, no like over the top clickbait video. And it still got a couple 100,000 views, and that's all I could really have ever asked for.
And you stay true to kind of like the Guys, sorry, it's raining. So if you guys do hear the rain,
it is Florida.
Yeah,
so.
it's Florida. It's raining all day today. So and you still stay true to like how you originally pretty much filmed.
Yeah. I've had the phases where I have a Canon 80D and there's like a good few months where I tried using it, but I just always ended up going back to my iPhone. And
Yeah,
just
that's what I'm
simpler and just easy. And I've had the thought of like hiring a camera guy and like changing it up, but you have to be careful with changes like that because if you don't do it gradually to where the viewers can transition with you,
right?
You just come out of nowhere with like super high quality. And I mean, some people might be hyped for it, but some people are gonna be like, man, this is like too much change. Like they're not used to this new format from you. So you gotta always keep that in mind.
Right. So just to switch back to like the racing stuff and the car stuff, right? You said that's how you kind of started the channel, of course, right? Now, what was some of the inspiration for some of your choices with what you were, driving or putting in the cars back then?
Well, there wasn't much inspiration for my Civic. The true story behind the Civic was that I wanted a faster car, and that Civic was my first car. My parents didn't want me to get a fast car. Like I wanted to get like a WRX at the time, I remember.
Yeah, same.
We like went and looked at one and my dad's like, no, you can't have this thing. Like this thing's too much car for you or whatever. They just didn't want me to be stupid with it, which I understood, but they ended up getting me a Honda Civic because I thought they looked cool.
Yeah.
At the time I knew nothing about engines. I just saw a picture of like a slammed Civic hatch like on some super cambered wheels and I'm like, that's sick. Like if I pull up to my school and that, everyone's gonna be like, damn, your car's sick, bro. So I got a Civic for that reason at first because I just liked how they looked, but I had no clue that it was like the most, like it had the biggest aftermarket support out of any chassis out there at the time, and still today it's massive. Yeah. So I had the car. There was no reason to change the platform, and I just started building it. So there really was no like initial inspiration.
There was no forum, like nobody on the forums that like, doing build threads or anything like that where you were just like, let me just see what this guy's doing and kind of take from what he's doing. Nothing, just like
nothing. I went in blind because the reason my Civic had an H22 in it, which is a Prelude motor, it's not very common, especially at that time. I mean, you'd either put a B series in it, or at that time the expensive route was the K series, and the H was just like kind of on its own. But I was on a website called HMO, like Honda Motors Online, and you could get the B series for like, it was maybe like $5,000 for the complete package. You could get the K series for like $8,000 for the whole package, or you get an H series for like $2,300 for the whole package. And it said the horsepower is 200 and the torque's 200 or 180, whatever it was. Yeah. I'm like, man, this thing's making the same power and torque as the other two. Like, why is it cheaper? Right. And then I did a little research, like found out not many people run it, but I found out that there are mounts to do it and everything. So I'm like, I can't afford the B or K right now. Yeah. So I'm just going to throw an H22 in that thing. And that's where it all went.
Was that like the car that you learned the most on?
Yeah. I learned everything. People probably don't realize how little I knew. I mean, I had a CV axle pop out one time on the Civic and I didn't even know how to change it. So I just took it to a local shop and they ended up putting the wrong size one in there. So I was driving around one day. I was at the skate park and I went to go home and it just popped out on me because they didn't put a long enough axles, like the wrong year or something. And I'm like, dude, and I just like paid these guys money to fix it. And I was like, I got to figure this stuff out on my own. So I got it towed home and fixed the axle ourselves with my dad. And then I started to understand that cars aren't like that complicated because my mindset at that time, like I wasn't a car guy. I was like, oh, I don't know how cars work. Yeah. I really was like completely naive to it. Like I had some experience with the RC stuff, but a full size car, I was like, I'm not gonna, I'll mess it up if I try to work on it myself. And fix the axle, pretty simple. And then it just kind of led to me doing more and more to it on my own and went down a rabbit hole of modifications. And I got just inspired. I'm like, dude, I just went down an avenue of YouTube looking up the world's fastest Civic, all this stuff. I came across Speed Factory at the time, running like sevens. I'm like, how the hell is that even possible? I'm like, what the fuck?
So Speed Factory was an inspiration.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you want to call it, yeah. At the time I didn't even know like who Speed Factory was. But yeah, back then, I mean, even today, if you look up world's fastest Honda Civic, you're going to see Speed Factory come up. They're huge, huge in the Honda world. So yeah, that was definitely an inspiration for sure. It was more of just like a mind fuck. I'm like, how can they even? I'm like, I couldn't. I was like, I remember like 0 to 60 times back then. Where like if I had if you had a 0 to 60, it was like 6, 7 seconds. I'm like, that's a quick car. Yeah. Like our friends were like, man, like just talking about 0 to 60 stuff. I'm like, dude, this Civic can run a whole quarter mile at like 200 in 7 seconds. I'm like, how the hell is that even a thing?
Man, isn't that wild? It's crazy.
Yeah, I've said it before, and I'm just like, I always thought that. I genuinely thought these people were were like on the same level as NASA, honestly. Like that's how, like that was my mindset. I'm like, they're probably mixing fuels in a lab.
Yeah.
Like they're like, they know the exact the quantity of everything. They got vials mixing stuff. I'm like, I just thought their minds were, I don't want to make them sound like dumb, but I thought these people were way, way smarter than they were. You know, I was holding them to a very high standard, and I realized that it's, for the most part, just normal people. Yeah. And it's just dedicated people that, just keep doing trial and error, and they eventually get those results. But it's just a process that I never understood or had any, knowledge about. So it was cool to kind of see as I would learn more, I'd understand how people got to these goals, and I'd feel accomplished. I'd be like, oh, how do they make that car that fast? Yeah. And then I'd figure it out on my own and see how I could make it work with my budget. And I'd get there and I'm like, man, like I'd look back even when I ran the first 10-second pass in my Civic, and I'm like, man, I'm that guy. now kids that are just getting out of high school probably like maybe see me at the track and they're like, damn, that thing's sick. Right. Like now I'm the guy they're like kind of looking up to. So that always kind of inspired me to just keep going. Cause like I always put myself in the position I was in when I was like 16, 17. I take myself back into that mindset and just feel like how just like cool it was to look up to the guys going fast. So I always like use that as like self-motivation. I'm like, there's someone right now that's just finding out who we are, thinking that we're like the top dogs out there. They're thinking that I've probably been doing this my whole life, or I've been born into it, or, that I'm super smart when I'm not. Yeah. Just a dude that likes to play with cars and just trial and error, and you eventually figure it out. And I think you can take that strategy to any hobby or anything you want to do in life. It's really how hard you work, it's just how much passion you have in it, I feel like. Right. So,
and a platform that, Honda is super relatable, and you could easily at this point just go and probably buy some crazy car. But do you feel like you would lose like your following if you had some like, I don't want to say an exotic, but something that's not really like how you build your cars? Maybe something like I don't know, like a Porsche or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I do technically have a Porsche, a little Cayman S, but
well, like, like a
Lambo. I mean,
something like,
super exotic. I mean, I'd rather have 10 Turbo Civics than a Lambo.
That's
honestly.
what I'm saying.
I mean, that'd be more fun. I mean, you got one $300,000 car or 10 freaking 9-second little rippers.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think the audience would care too much. I guess it depends how I approached it. But I mean, I don't know. I'd probably end up throwing like freaking eBay turbos on a Lambo or something. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
I'd probably take that same strategy. Like, I'd be like, guys,
your roots are always going to be there.
Like,
I feel like.
I'm not going to change. Like, I might have like a little more income now, but I'm still going to just try to build this car on a budget, or just, I don't know. I just like doing cookie cutter stuff too. Like, I definitely wouldn't get something and then just put like a off the shelf turbo kit or something on it. It's like, I feel like we got to make it ourselves. I don't have much satisfaction in, like, if I were to get like even like a Mustang nowadays, like, or a F-150, like those are all getting super popular, turbo kits ready to go. Yeah. The Coyote's just known to make crazy power stock. Right. I'm definitely not opposed to it. And I think I'd look into it, but something about just like buying the car and just someone already has everything basically done and you're just bolting it all on kind of takes the fun out of it for me. Cause I feel like I'm not really learning that much. It's like someone else did all the time and research on the platform, and you're just taking their stuff and putting it on, which is great because that's what most people want. They're like, I just want my car to be fast. I don't really care how it gets there. But the thing that keeps me motivated and interested in it is like how it's all working. And
I agree.
You learn so much more when you do most of the work yourself.
Right. And honestly, a lot of the platforms now are kind of similar to like the BMW stuff is very similar to that. It's like, and that's kind of how I feel, exactly how you explained it. I couldn't articulate it ever, but that's exactly what it is. It's like, it's cookie cutter, but like, you're not going to really learn much by putting a downpipe and on your car. Like, it'll go fast. Yeah. It'll make power and so on. But like, what did you really do to, what effort did you put into the car? What did you learn, And there's only so much you can learn putting a downpipe on your car.
I think I know we were going to like talk about some of the Tesla stuff soon, but I know that I think part of the reason I dove into the Teslas is that it's something that people don't really know much about. Right. So it gave me like an opportunity to like learn more stuff that people don't have any concept or idea of. And it was interesting to me. So it was just, I don't know, it's just cool learning about new stuff. And that's why like other platforms might not interest me as much, because everything's there's not many platforms left that haven't been like pushed to some limit, or there was not some shop that already knows everything about it. Yeah. It's not there's just not many options left. Like the MR2 was really cool to me because there was no really fast drag MR2s.
Yeah.
I mean, you could take any iconic 90s car and someone's built like a gnarly 6-7 second drag car out of it.
Yeah.
Any of them. You got Fox bodies, Supras, R34 Skylines even weren't that popular, but you got those guys in Australia running 6s. Like every chassis has been like pushed in some way, and there's like the oddball ones, but I thought it was cool to see an MR2 that, it's like a pretty, well-known car, but there's not really any fast ones. There's only like a couple 8-second ones that existed.
Right.
And I just kind of saw that as like a cool challenge, like something that was obtainable for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to try to chase Speed Factory's 6-second pass or go after the world's fastest Fox body or, it's just those are buried so deep that as a single person, you don't even have a chance.
All right. So the Hondas, right? You're always going to stay true to that, right? And now you have K-Series and a lot of these cars. So when did you get your first taste of having a K-Series?
The first K-Series, man, that is a good question. It was the MR2.
The MR2.
It was the MR2, yeah. Because back when we were street racing, my hatch made like 600-700 horsepower. I put a big weight plate on the front of it, put some radials on it, but it got to a point where I couldn't put more power down. Starting to spin really bad. So even though we'd like turn the car up, I wouldn't, I'd race the same guy I did last weekend and I wouldn't beat him any worse, even though I'm making more power just because I'm spinning more or whatever. And all-wheel drive Hondas weren't a thing back then. So I saw that video on 1320. And
which video? Just so
the green MR2.
Okay.
I believe that was like the first K-swapped MR2 just out there just mopping up.
And that was only making what, 900? I think it was.
That's what they claimed, like 900 to 1,000 somewhere in there. And I mean, it was just messing dudes up, putting the power down, hauling ass. And I saw that video and I was like, that's sick. It's a Honda power plant, but in the back of a car where it can actually, it has the weight over the rear tires and actually put some power down. And I just thought it was cool. And then I just started diving into MR2s and I thought they were cool. So I was like, I'm going to get one. And I ended up picking mine up. And then when I got to the point where I was ready to start swapping it, I just dropped the stock motor out. And that was the first car I ever hung a K-Series in, was the MR2.
Yeah, that video actually, so it inspired you to get this, right? And start that. But like that video scared me, man. Like I was like, I would never probably get in a car that fast. It's so small too. So it was like,
they are small.
It was cool to watch. But to be in that tiny car, going that fast, like it probably is sketchy, no? Like you can speak about it now because, what do you mean that level? You got a whole freaking, you got a speed demon over here.
But I never ran it on the street at that power level.
Oh, on the street, okay.
So I don't know how sketchy it is.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, on the street, you're right.
I raced it on the street when it was the stock K with a turbo, and it made like just over 400 horsepower.
Okay.
It was like a mid 11-second car. Yeah. And I would street race at that power level because we were still street racing during that phase. And at that power level, it was no big deal. But going from 400 to 1,000, I'm not sure. I do have the orange NSX over here. That makes about 900 to the tire, and I mean it's gnarly. It's so fast on the street, but I haven't. Now that we've gotten to a level like I don't think I've raced somebody with a Honda that makes over like 600-700 horsepower, like in a serious street race.
Right.
Like we got away from it so long ago that I haven't gone back to like try to street race now that I have something that could like really throw down.
Track. Yeah,
I'm just going to the track nowadays. So the closest thing I'd get to is like roll racing at Bradenton or like FL2K, any of those where I'd take the NSX and roll race. And I mean, it's trapped like 175 in the rolls. Yeah. So I mean, on the street, I mean, it'd get down. And today's standard of fast is way different than 8 years ago.
Yeah, 8 years ago, right.
Yeah. If I had that, like if they took that NSX out, that NSX would have probably shit on that MR2 in the 1320
back
video.
then? Yeah.
Like the standards.
You think so?
I think so. That NSX on kill versus that MR2, I don't know. That'd be interesting.
I mean,
I think it would get it. Yeah,
that'd be a great run, though. Honestly, just the fact that you see those two cars together running is crazy. You don't see NSXs doing that. Like that car is not even designed for that.
No, and that's what's cool is that I have an NSX build coming up to be a drag car, and it's going to be. I mean, from what I know, it's the first and only. I know for a fact it's like the only NSX with a 25 cert cage. Funny car hoop and everything. And I mean, that orange NSX is the fastest NSX in the standing quarter mile. Yeah, we just brought it there, and it happened, and it went at 8.8 at like 160 something miles an hour, like not even really trying. So that opened my eyes a little bit. So I was like, I think we could do a fast NSX and no one's done it. And like an NSX is really iconic, and I get it because like not many people would take that caliber of car, or like that kind of iconic 90s road course track supercar and cut it up to a straight line drag car. But you see them do it with like everything else. So I'm like, even with the NSX, like you know you can make 2,000 horsepower out of a billet K, or 12, 14, 1,500 horsepower. You know that you can put a K in an NSX. You know, this is knowledge that's been known for a while now. There's mount kits to do it, but no one has one. There's not one other 8-second NSX that exists except for that one out there in the quarter mile. Unless maybe like a new generation that I don't know about. But as far as like the 90s, that's the only one. So it's to me, it's a cool platform because no one's done it. So that excites me too. And I think it has benefits over the MR2 chassis that will help it go faster.
Okay. So is it the wheelbase?
Yeah, partly. Okay. It's more wheelbase. You can put a 28-inch hull tire on it with no fitment issues, where at MR2 you can only go up to the 26, or else it'd look just funky. Not sure if that bigger tire will necessarily help, but you know, if you got more wheelbase, bigger tire, that should just tell me with the same suspension setup, which it basically does have the same suspension, you know, a lot of similarities to an MR2, just the wheelbase and tire should tell me it should at least 60 foot better, be capable of a better 60 foot than an MR2 chassis would be. Just like the Ricer math, you know? But
the Ricer math.
Yeah, that's a term I use a lot too. It's like, I'm like, if this thing works and this thing, you know, I compare. I'm like, if a 2J can go a 6 in this chassis and I put a 2J in my chassis that weighs 400 less pounds, I should be able to go faster than the 2J in that chassis, you know? So I'm like, I'm not actually like really jotting down everything, but I'm just like kind of taking all these mental notes, and I do Ricer math in my head. I'm like, this should work. If I put this in there, it should be faster than previous stuff we've done. But yeah, I think the NSX should be capable of running faster than the MR2. And I'm hoping we can put the NSX in the 6s. That'd be my long-term goal.
Dude, that'd be to see that car. Honestly, you see this car going fast, it's like, okay, it's a small car, shorter wheelbase, right? I'm assuming, right? And you see something like that, it's like, first of all, it's an NSX, like I said. You don't see those cars doing that, and most of them they're for the track. They're not. They're not cars that
don't stand out. It'd be the only like dedicated drag NSX.
Right.
There's nothing else. There's gonna be nothing else like it.
And
be a one of a kind.
A lot of those cars, like the NSXs, I mean, you may see it in the future because there's no shop. Well, at least in New York, there's no shops that fix those cars. Like, there's no parts. Like, you can't to fix the NSX now. Like it's expensive.
Yeah, they're very expensive.
So people are now doing the K swaps in them.
Yeah, well, it's hard to not, because there are NSXs that need parts, or maybe motor's bad, this and that. You can take the factory V6 out of it and the transmission and sell that whole combo for the engine and trans. I mean, I don't think I'm shooting out there too far to say that you could probably get 10 grand just for the engine and trans. Probably. That's probably on the low side, depending on the condition.
Probably.
And that easily pays for a fully built K and a good trans.
Yeah.
Like right there.
Parts are available.
So you could just take your bone stock NSX drivetrain out and then put yourself in a 800 horsepower, mildly built K series with a solid built transmission.
Yeah.
For 10 grand with the mounts and everything, and just boom, now you tripled the horsepower of the NSX. You made it lighter. Now you got parts available for the engine that's in it.
Yep.
And the only thing that, the only downside to it is that it might hurt the value of the car if you're looking to like resell it, or if you're a purist that doesn't, want to see a different motor in there, which I see all sides of that. But end of the day, it's the owner of that specific car. And if that's what they want to do with it, then, people are going to go that route, because they're like, hell yeah, I want to make 1,000 horsepower in my NSX because I mean, to do it with the C30, you'd have to spend, I don't even want to know how much to build one of those. And there's no room to put a turbo anywhere in there. It's like they tuck them up underneath, or you can supercharge them. And
I've seen supercharged ones.
Yeah, that's pretty common on the C30s or C32s. But I mean, you can just plop a K in there and be done with it.
Yeah,
and it will perform better in every aspect.
Right. So when you put the motors in the cars, how are you making sure that the motor's level and everything is aligned properly?
Well, on most of the case swap vehicles we have, they have mounts that already exist. Okay. So like the MR2, I didn't have to do any R&D. We just had off-the-shelf mounts. There's a couple cars that we've done that, I mean, like even our jet boat, we have our jet boat with a K series in there, and I mean, we just do our best to line it up. But honestly, we haven't really had to make our own mounts.
You haven't had to do anything else, like super custom. Everything's just been like
nothing's super custom. The NSX, we will have to make the mounts for, though, because
in this NSX, talking about like The drag one or
The drag one.
Okay.
The one it's in Colorado currently, and that one we will have to make mounts for because the previous owner chopped one of the factory mount locations off, and they actually set the engine lower to lower the center of gravity because he was going to build a drag car out of it.
Right.
So we'll probably do something similar to what he was on track to do, but I didn't know if I wanted to go that route, and he asked me if I wanted the mounts and the axles to match like that engine's location and everything. And at the time, I probably should have said yes, but I was like, nah, I don't need that stuff.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to end up remaking that ourselves, and we'll just make sure it's we'll obviously make sure the engine's level, and I'm sure there's more important things to look for on other applications. Like, I mean, it depends how serious you get, but for just case swapping something, I mean, as long as the engine's level, the axles have a good straight shot to the transmission, nothing's binding up or anything like that. I mean, it's not too hard to just kind of set it in there and get it where you need to be and fab up some mounts to hold it there. So we'll probably have to do that when we build the NSX.
Right.
But the other cars we've put a K-Series in, they weren't like they weren't serious builds. So I mean, we just plop it in there, whip up some mounts, and like it's done. Like we don't really care how good the position is, as long as it looks okay, it's good enough for us.
So how crazy are you going with like making sure that, because when you're going that fast, you want to make sure that things are kind of properly aligned, suspension and things like that. Are you factoring that into, or are you just kind of like?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be on our mind, but there's only so much we can do. The engine's only going to be able to go either so high, so low, only so forward, so back. So we'll just take all of those things into consideration, and we'll just put it in there and kind of shake it down, see how it works. If we need to make changes, we can always do that, but we'll definitely go into it with the mindset of like, this is gonna hopefully be a 6-second capable car one day. So we need to make sure we consider that. Yeah, because a lot of the cars, like the MR2, like it didn't start with the idea that it was going to be that fast. It was kind of more just put it together, see what it does, and then as it's gotten faster, we've had to redo a lot of the stuff that we originally did to it to make it capable of what it can do today. So we had to go backwards a lot, but it helped with the story and like the videos, right? Because that's another thing that's hard, is like a lot, like something we don't really do is just go all out on a drag car from day one. It's like I kind of start with the chassis, I'll do modifications and kind of like run it through its paces for a while, and we slowly make it better and better, because it's fun to learn about that chassis, and as you do that, you just learn more and more as you go. To whereas if you see what works online, I just buy these parts, put it all together. It's like it's a recipe for a very fast car, so you know what you're gonna get. So that's another thing too. If you buy all that, you spend all that money on all that stuff, and you put it together, and it like doesn't get the results you want, you're gonna be like upset too, because you're like, hey, I bought all this expensive stuff, and it works on these other guys' cars. Why doesn't it work for me? Where if like you took that progression to like learn the chassis, and you have your hand on every bolt on the car, and you've seen the car through its levels. Every second it's gone quicker in the quarter, you start to understand it, better than just buying it all right away. And just having an all-out crazy build.
Couldn't agree more.
So yeah, hopefully I said that in a good way.
So what all is done to this car? Just give me a quick rundown of the parts that you have done at this current moment.
So right now, just stock basically MR2 chassis, has a 25 cert roll cage in it. It has right now a cast K24 in it.
Okay.
So it's cast. It did have a billet engine, but we've actually gone faster on the cast. And and action triple disc clutch, Ferrari drive or valve train, precision turbo. It's a 83, 85. It has a Turbo Smart E-Gate on it, Fuel Tech FT600. And then I think that's everything.
That's pretty much everything, right?
Got Fuel Tech injectors, stock OEM Honda crank and rotating assembly. It's aluminum rod. I think GMP aluminum rods, Diamond Racing pistons. It's a Ramey Racing sleeve short block. The head's welded, so like coolant can't pass through the block into the head.
Okay.
We have water circulating only through the head, and the block is completely dry in this car. Okay. So it's a sleeved block that like has the coolant jackets, so you could cool it, but it's just we don't run any water through it. We're just running water through the head to help keep the valves and head cooled off, because they get really hot without the water helping. And yeah, I mean that's basically it. Mechanical fuel pump and a lot of boost running through a little 4-cylinder.
So you mentioned that you have gone faster on cast, right? Why do you think that is? That these are capable of going faster on cast as opposed to like billet?
For our specific car, it's just because we haven't got the cast fully figured out yet. Both times both times we put the billet engine in, we were rushed for World Cup. And so we just haven't taken the time to really like step back and get the billet engine like figured out, because every time, the only 2 times we've had the billet engine in, it's like 2 days before we leave the World Cup. So we like have very limited testing, and we just kind of send it like full tilt, because like at World Cup, you got to qualify like right away. And so we've just had some issues there. The only thing is like we've been running into just some crankcase pressure issues. So like right now, that billet engine's sitting right over there, and there's nothing, catastrophically wrong with it. It runs fine, but it was starting to build more crankcase pressure than we're comfortable with, and we're trying to figure out, why it's doing that. Either it's something we're doing wrong with the break-in procedure, like we're washing the rings out right away, like it was maybe running too rich when we first started it up. Because I'm honestly not too sure, because the same company that builds that one for us has also built me cast motors in the past with the same piston to wall clearance, same spec, same everything. We've had no issues with the cast. So we're still figuring out, what went wrong the second time with the billet engine, but the car will definitely be capable of going faster with the billet motor once that's ironed out. Right now, we've just kept pushing the cast, and it somehow hasn't split in half yet. And I mean, it's insane that they can do what they do, honestly.
I was speaking about this before, and some people have their preference of K20 and K24. Obviously, you'd probably get more torque with the 24, but is there any other reasons, more specific, as to why you are running a K24 as opposed to a K20?
The main reason is just part availability, and it's cheaper to rebuild a 24. The MR2 used to have a K20 in it. It was originally a 24. I had twin eBay turbos on it. It was on an AEM at the time. It went like an 8.3 with the fuel system completely maxed out. And then we wanted to run the 7, and it was doing wheelies really bad too at that time. So I was like, maybe we need less torque. So we put a K20 in it. And I also wanted more RPM, because even though I had a 5-speed, I was only running it as far out as 4th gear would go. I was like, oh, if I have to go to 5th, I'm going to be wasting time. Like that's an extra shift. I don't know why I thought of it like that when it's not really that true, but I didn't want to have to go to 5th gear. So I'm like, also we'll have less torque with the K20, and we'll also be able to push more RPM. So I'll make up for that, that mile an hour. I can raise the rev limiter up in 4th. And I was like, that's how we'll get our 7. Less torque, more mile an hour out the back, K20. And the K20 was a little more proven at the time. Like there was other setups running K20 that were just hauling. So I was like, I think we need to make a switch to a K20, and then ran it like that for a while. And then the chassis got good, and I realized, hey, we could probably put a 24 back in it. We got to a point where we were turning it up so much that on a really like prep surface at Bradenton, it would bog the K20. We couldn't tighten our slipper anymore, because it would just, instead of spinning the tire, it would just shut it down. It'd be like 9,000 RPM, 30, 40 pounds of boost, just screaming like, what? And then I'd dump the clutches, and it just shuts off. So that would happen sometimes. And I was like, no, you got to get that torque back. Because now we figured out the wheelies. We have the height sensor to keep it from wheeling after. So once we put it on Fuel Tech, like now we can actually control the torque. Or at least that was my thought. Like it's better to have the power and torque and manage it than to like not have enough. You want to have a little more than you need, and then dial in the power management. So one of my final K20s let go, and I was like, man, I think we should go back to a 24 and just try it. And that's really my mindset. And it was like right before World Cup, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I put a K24 back in it, built it the same exact way as the K20. Essentially just same build, but instead it was a K24. And the main reason I like the 24 over the 20, they both have their benefits, but it just comes down to the part availability. And just like getting blocks. You're going to find K24 blocks everywhere. You're going to find K24 cranks everywhere. The K20 stuff is still pretty available, but eventually it's going to get into that realm of like B-Series stuff, where it's going to get harder and harder to find. And Honda made way more K24s than K20s, to my knowledge, because they're everywhere. So I'm assuming there's way more K24s out there, because I can hit up any importer in Orlando, anywhere on the coast. They always got K24s in stock. Like right now, I'll hit them up tomorrow morning. Like, you got a K24A? Like, yeah, come pick it up. We got 10. But you got a K20? Like, oh no, you're gonna have to wait a month. We'll order one for you or something. So the K20s are a little harder to find, and they come with the price tag, and you just go to K24 that much easier. So at this level, we haven't found any disadvantage to run the K24. I mean, we've gone faster with it than the K20 ever did. It's still stock cast. Cast block, not a stock block, but it's a cast block with sleeves. And I mean, you can't argue that they just put in work for what they are. So
Right. It gets the job done.
I'd say the K20 could have went just as fast as this.
Yeah.
I really don't think there's really not many differences between
You had the fuel
two.
tech though throughout the whole process of it? Because
From when it went K20, it had a fuel tech that whole time. But I
Okay.
had a K24 before the fuel tech. And when we completely revamped the car,
Right.
that's when I went to a K20. Because the first K24 I had built myself.
Yeah.
I did the whole car almost completely 100% on my own. Like I built the roll cage, I did the turbo kit, the manifold, built the engine myself, built the sequential, like literally everything I touched. And then once we were getting closer to that 7, I was like, all right, now we need to like take it a little more serious. That's when I had JBR build the K20. Like I didn't build the engine myself. I was
Right.
like, I'm gonna do a proven setup, put it in here, do a precision turbo, not my eBay turbos, like do stuff that is known to work.
Yeah.
And go after the 7. And then after we got the 7 out of the way, ran the K20 for a while. And that's when I was like, I kind of want to revisit the 24 because I think it would have worked if we had the fuel tech and like the stuff and the knowledge of the chassis and just everything.
What else does fuel tech have for you that kind of, helps you get along and run that fast pass?
I mean, we got the wheelie height sensor on there, which is like a safety. So if it does a big wheelie, the sensor will let the ECU know and pull power, settle it back down. And I mean, just having the tech support from Fuel Tech has been huge. Like we've learned so much from those guys and going down to them and putting the car on their dyno and, them taking the time to actually like, they actually try to teach you about what's going on in the car. They want you to be able to do it yourself. So they're like, that's why I love them so much because they almost have like, I feel like they have the same mindset as I do, where it's like, they think of the person that's in the position that like just doesn't know anything. And they're really they'll try to get you there and like help you understand like when you make a fuel change or whatever,
Right.
They want you to understand what you're actually doing to the engine, how it's all working, and make it so you can tune the car yourself and you're not relying on a tuner
Right.
or anything like that. And I think that's like one of their goals is to make it as easy to tune the car yourself. So it's very user friendly. You got all these other ECUs, like the big dollar ones. And it's like, everything like the language is in numbers, like, I don't know a good way to explain that, but it's like, if you don't know the software, it's very complicated, like Motec or any of these big, computers, and there's a very small pool of people that are experts on it. Like that stuff's way out of my knowledge. Like if you sat me down and said like, hey, try to tune this Motec car, I'd have no clue. I'd be like, where do I even start? Cause like everything's custom tables. Like it's good because you can do so many like unlimited things, but for someone that might not need all that, I mean, the Fuel Tech, is great. I mean, it's just so user friendly. Everything's laid out very well. The interface is nice. You can tune stuff right from the dash, and
that's pretty cool too.
When we found out about Fuel Techs, I'm like, man, this I see the future of what it could be. Like I think, and you see it, they're slowly taking over more and more. Yeah. I mean, all the pro mods are running Fuel Tech. It's just, and I saw it a long time ago. I was like, man, this is a really smart approach to it, because the thing back then is like everyone was so secretive. Like everyone had their tuner. No one, they locked the computers. Like, oh, you can't see my stuff. Yeah. Because like that's their business. Like if they let that information get out, then I understand. Like they don't want people to know their secrets. Same with other car companies hiding secrets from each other. I'm in the realm where I'm like, I'll show you whatever the hell you want. Like I don't care. But you get shops that like, oh, we don't tell people how we make our cars go fast, because everyone's competitive. And I get it with other shops. They might have competing businesses. They don't want to put out how they machined a certain part or something because they don't want someone to take it and
that's very common,
duplicate it and whatever. But since I'm just an individual and I just love learning, my mindset is like, maybe people like learning it with me. So I just put it out there. Don't really have that mindset. And that's what's cool about Fuel Tech too. Is like, they want you to learn too. Right. They want everyone to be capable of tuning it themselves. And they're definitely going down the right path, I think.
How much have you learned with Fuel Tech in terms of like tuning and stuff like that?
Quite a bit. Yeah. A lot of it was stuff I touched on before, and I still wouldn't say I'm the best tuner, but definitely have a much better understanding of how things like work. Because like before, when I'd look at a fuel table or a timing table, like I really had no clue what was actually going on. Like I understood the numbers. I'm like, oh, this number bad, this number good. Like, but I didn't really know why. So over time, between like being with those guys and just figuring stuff out on my own, I definitely have a much better understanding of how it all works.
What platform are you familiar with, like prior to Fuel Tech?
as far as like engine platform
Yeah,
or
yeah.
car.
ECU stuff. ECU.
Oh,
sorry.
ECU stuff. Did a lot of. I mean, it'd mostly be Honda.
Honda,
That's
right?
as far as my knowledge went.
Like K Pro or something.
Yeah, K Pro and the S300s. I could definitely get you running pretty good on the street with one of those. It wouldn't be as good as like one of my like an actual tuner, but like if you brought me a car that didn't run on a S300, I could get it. I could tune it and it might make 50 more horsepower with a proper tuner, but I'll get it like making boost and running safely and still like fast. And then I would just take it to a tuner for the final like you know the final tweaks.
K Series being a popular platform, probably one of the most used platforms for swaps and Hondas nowadays because of accessibility and parts and so on. What do you think the best 4-cylinder is?
It has to be the K Series, hands down. Okay. There's so many other 4-cylinders out there. I mean, you got the 4Gs, you got the SRs. They're all great. They all can make a ton of power. But as far as the aftermarket availability, just the sheer volume of how many you can get your hands on. I mean, there's a reason why you see just K swaps popping up in everything if it's a 4-cylinder. I mean, you got them in drift cars, drag cars, like everyone is dabbling in the K Series world. B Series is great. Yeah, B Series is king in the all-wheel drive Honda world. You got Speed Factory. They're keeping the B Series trucking strong, but you can't deny the fact that the fastest 4-cylinder in the Honda, out of all the Honda platforms, is a K Series in a rear-wheel drive tube chassis car. The fastest, I'm pretty sure. I was gonna say the only one is a K Series, but I believe there's also an SR that's in the 5s as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you feel about the SR20s? Like, they're
great, but it comes back to, if you're looking at the broad question, what's the best case? Or not the best case. If you're looking at if you're just asking the question, what's the best 4-cylinder out there, and you're taking all variables, not just how much power it can make, not just how much they cost, just all of it. Look at every angle. K Series is hands down, man. I mean, there's so many of them. They're super cheap. They used to be expensive, but now it's cheaper than a B Series. You make 600-700 horsepower without even opening the thing up. You put some rods and pistons in it, it'll make 1,000. And it's just I just think it's no comparison to any other 4-cylinder out there. If you just look at it at all angles, I will definitely say everyone has their place. There's fast Evos. There's fast, like you said, SR20s, but how many of them do you really see?
That's actually interesting. Do you feel like if we had SR20s the same, like it's sort of like the RB2J thing? It's like
they could all be great. I could easily say the 4G is the best. I could say the SR20 is the best. I could say any of them are the best. But when looking at it from all angles, if you're just a car guy and you say, I want the best 4-cylinder I can build right now, I got a decent budget, where do I go? I mean, if you don't do a K Series, it doesn't make sense. It spins the right way so you can bolt it up to Chevy transmissions. They have adapters to everything you can think of, and they just don't stop making more K Series stuff. Everyone's R&D is going K Series, K Series, K Series.
But do you think that makes it the best?
Why else would everyone be using it?
Well, I think accessibility. No?
I guess it's someone's definition of what the best is.
Right. So are we talking about the fact? Okay.
Because we got to start over, I guess. So maybe it's not the best engineered, but it's the best option for a car guy that wants decent power and they want parts to be available without spending a fortune.
No, it's definitely the best. It's probably one of the best engineered.
And engineered. I mean, let's be real. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to think of what argument you could counter it with. But I mean,
I don't really know too much about the SR20 platform, but
neither do I.
The thing is, like I said, what
other big 4-cylinders are out there that are even in the conversation? You got like the Ecotechs.
You got the 4AGE.
All the Hondas, the HDBKs. And
3 SGT?
That's the Toyota one.
Yes.
But I mean, dude, come on. You look at all of them. It's just the K Series is no question, man.
I know. I'm just trying to like,
where else? What other 4-cylinder can you go to the junkyard? It's going to be guaranteed to be there in the junkyard the day you go. You can pull it out, pay the dude $600 for it, throw it in a car, throw a turbo kit on it, and make $600 to the tire with a good turbo kit and fuel system. What other stock block 4-cylinder can go 200 without splitting the block in half or coming apart? And to be fair, I do have some knowledge that I'm pretty sure, as far as cast block goes, like the more like broad viewer might not know this, but the S2000 motor is nasty too.
I already talked about this, man.
The S2000 motor is nasty because there's one that went a 6.0 on a cast block.
Was it King's Performance or
No, I think
inline pro.
It says Yoshi built on the side of it.
Oh.
They had the car here over at JBR.
Oh, it was recently.
I don't know when it ran the 5, but it was recently out in an event.
And it had an F series in it?
Yeah, an F. Cast. But
Damn.
they're working on doing a billet block. All I know is I can end it off by saying, as of today, the fastest 4-cylinder in the world is a K series. Billet, obviously, but that record still stands. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it got broken in the last like month or two and I didn't hear about it, but
Nah, the Ecotech is up there too, bro.
But
Ecotech. But nah, but you're right. You're right.
I'll put it to you this way too. You ain't gonna build a 600 horsepower Ecotech on Temu, because I can go on Temu right now and buy a K series turbo manifold, mounts, everything I need.
You might be able to, honestly. You could probably find some stuff on Temu or eBay.
I could build a whole 500 horsepower Civic for I bet under $5,000 off Temu. I bet I could do it right now with a K series.
I'm gonna have to.
You ain't gonna get that with another 4-cylinder.
Somebody out there build the Ecotech,
And the K series is the perfect gateway for car guys. It's a perfect starter platform if you're on a budget, you're not making a lot of money, but you want to actually have something that's pretty fast and respectable. You can make 400 or 500 horsepower.
Yeah.
Bone stock K. You don't even have to know how to take a valve cover off.
Right.
Put a turbo on it. Find a tuner. Make 500 horsepower and go mop up on all your friends with Hellcats.
Or you can just buy a Saturn and have an Ecotech and smoke everybody with that too.
You're not going to get me with the Ecotech argument.
Nah, I'm playing. Nah, but you're right. You got that. All right. So you have this, and you had the Tesla the Plaid swapped Odyssey, right?
Yeah.
And that was like a big deal. That was probably like one of the. Do you feel like that was one of the most rewarding content pieces you've done? Like
probably in a while. Yeah. The MR2 running the first 7 was probably the most like that was like a really awesome feeling and moment for me.
Yeah.
And just for everyone involved. But the Odyssey was really cool. That was
Odyssey.
Yeah. It was an idea I had like 2 years prior to actually doing it.
Yeah.
But buying a Plaid was like really expensive, and eventually I came across the one on Copart, and I was like, I got to try it. So I used to street race my Civic. It had an H22 in it.
Yeah.
It was fast. I wanted to make more content. People loved watching me race random cars in my Civic, because even though it's a Civic, it's still like a sleeper. You don't expect a Civic to just mop on your GTR, whatever. So I thought it'd be even funnier for content to put that setup in like something that's more sleeper. I found out the first gen Honda Odyssey has mounts to drop an H22 in it.
Okay.
There's the whole progression. This is what it all leads up to.
Yeah.
I built the sleeper Odyssey with the same H22 combo that I had in my Civic. So I could go street race people. Now they're not getting beat by a Civic. Now it's a first gen Honda Odyssey. So it's like a little bit more disrespect on them.
Yeah.
And then I made it all wheel drive. It got to a point where it was just crazy. It has a hood exit, full cage. You can see the intercooler out the front.
Yeah.
And it's not really like a sleeper anymore. And then its journey kind of ended there. But I always wanted the idea of like a fast, reliable, just blow your pants off freaking sleeper minivan. And so that idea got put to rest for a while. And then I rode in a Plaid at Ice Cream Cruise in Nebraska. I was out there with the 1320 video guys. And my friend Chris let me drive his Plaid. And I was like, this thing's nuts, because I'd never been in a Plaid before. And I like punched it. Yeah. I was just like, this is insane. I was like, you're never going to have to work on it. It's just going to go A to B. And like, it's not an easy car to beat at all. And then I got the idea. I was like, man, that'd be like the next step would be like, it's silent. It'd be a perfect sleeper if I could take this power plant, like maybe take the battery motors out and like stick it in another Odyssey or something, some sleeper. And then I don't know when I got the idea, but I thought like maybe you could just chop the body off and body swap it. And so I Googled what the wheelbases were, and I found out they were like the same. It was only off by 1.5 inches. So I remember typing it in Google. I was like, Honda Odyssey wheelbase, enter. And I went, Tesla Plaid wheelbase, enter. And I was like, no way. I was like, boom. And right when I saw that, I was like, I got to do it. And then it probably took me a while to actually find the Tesla and come across the one on Copart, because they were still really expensive. Yeah. And I was like scared to spend all that money just to cut it up, and maybe it wouldn't even fit how I thought it would. Right. And I got a burnt Tesla first before I cut up the one I got on Copart. So I had like a mock-up one. Yeah. I bought one that didn't have any motors or battery in it. A subscriber had it. I cut that one up, test fit the body on that first, saw that it would work. And then I cut up the Plaid and put the van on it. And then I got my 1,000 horsepower sleeper minivan. So were there any things that you were concerned about, or any things that you would like
have to look out for with the car going that fast and that kind of chassis? Like, what are some of the things that you were like paying attention to
The
closely?
only concern I had was maybe like the stiffness of the
Okay.
chassis, because we cut a lot of the Plaid out of the way. So I didn't know if like the platform would be like flexible with that much power, and I didn't know how safe it would be.
Right.
But after we, tied the body back in, like it all felt very sound and safe, and we made a lot of mounts to like, so the actual van body was supporting the Tesla, so it wouldn't tweak or nothing anymore.
Right.
All the shock towers and everything were tied in to the body. So after we did that, I had no concerns, and it just drove perfect.
So you were smoking a lot of people with that car.
Yeah, that thing was fun.
Yeah, you were smoking
It
a
was
lot of
so
people.
fun. I mean, yeah, I was like racing Cletus in his truck, and when we took it to his first, I mean, we won his first all-wheel drive shootout in the minivan. The first one he put on, we beat everybody in the Odyssey.
Yo,
that's all I could have asked for.
Do you think it had a pass just because it was an Odyssey? Like what if it was a Plaid?
Probably not. I mean, maybe they would have, because it's me, and like
right, but it wouldn't have been fun.
But it
That's
wouldn't
what
have been
I'm saying.
interesting.
Yeah,
it would have been like
exactly.
a Plaid, but it's funny because nothing changed about the power or drivetrain, but just the fact that now it looks like a van,
right?
Like it makes it interesting and fun.
It's so weird. It's so like, I think that's like one of the coolest things to me personally, aside from the MR2, of course.
It's so cool. I mean, we have so many like even off-story cameras in that thing, just ripping past people, like not having no idea what it is, and they're like, "What the fuck?" Like, I'd just like pulling up on people on lights and stuff, and be like, "Yo, you want to run them?" Like they genuinely think we're in like a piece of shit van. Like we get these guys to like take off, and we just blow by them. I mean, there's so many instances I wish we filmed, but
I was gonna say, did you film any of this stuff? Like maybe
there's some here and there, but like in the moment, like I had one where I was literally racing a Lamborghini. It's at the beginning of one of my videos.
Yeah.
I was by myself getting lunch, so I'm like, I'm not ready to film or nothing. This Lambo pulls up, like he rips past me, not knowing anything about the van. He flies past me. I pull up next to him and like match his speed, like aggressively match his speed.
Yeah.
And then he like looks over at me like, "Oh, what the heck?" And then I start slowing down with him. And I think I did like a little baby hit, so he like knew something was like not normal with this van, and he slowed down with me, and I hear him downshift like the V12 get ready to go, and he fucking punches it, and I just blow past him, and I'm filming one-handed, going like this. I'm like, "Oh, see ya."
Did you guys stop and kind of like, did you laugh or did you?
Yeah, they were like, that thing's crazy. I mean, they were like, "Don't put us on YouTube." They literally said, "Don't put us on YouTube." So I blurred them out, but I put it at the beginning of a video because I was like, "This is too good."
Yeah.
But they're like, "Just don't put me on YouTube," because they didn't expect that.
I mean,
So I don't know what the story was, but I blurred their faces, and I mean, I'm putting it on YouTube. That was funny.
So did you ever get bored of that car, or it was just?
I never got bored of it, but I knew it could be better because I put the van body on a Model S.
Mm-hmm.
The Model S is a sedan, so the position of the driver and dash doesn't line up very good with the Odyssey body.
Okay.
Because the B pillar was like right here, and not like behind me where it should be.
Right.
Because like if you look at a minivan, like the front two, like the driver and front passenger and the dash, it's like all shoved up pretty far into the windshield,
right,
to make room for occupants behind you. You know, they obviously want to stretch the middle out so you can have a middle row and a back row,
right?
Because the purpose of it's to fit people. The sedan's not like that. You know, you're more laid back. The fender, like where the door line starts from the front tire, like everything's pushed back. You have a longer dash. You're sitting lower. You're not like as tucked up.
Yeah.
So that made some of the dimensions a little off. And I knew actually at the very beginning of the project, I knew right away that a Model X Plaid would fit better. And I wanted to try to find a Model X to do it. Because it's an SUV, it's all pushed up. It's like I've measured a Model X, it all lines up way better. So it'll feel like normal. Like you wouldn't even notice anything's off other than like, why does this van have a Tesla interior? You just like, it'd feel normal. You wouldn't be like, why is this pillar like all in my way? So I wanted to get a Model X, and I was waiting for one to come up, but they just weren't coming up on Copart. And then I saw the Model S come up, and I knew it would still work on either or. Yeah. And I just decided to get the Model S just because I wanted to get going on it. I didn't want to keep waiting for a Model X because I didn't know if it might take a year or two to find a Model X. So I was like, I'll just do the Model S and see how it goes. And then after that went good, I ended up finding a Model X. And so now I have a Model X ready, and I have a fresh Odyssey shell that's like way cleaner than the last one. And I'm ready to do version 2 here soon.
Ooh.
And it will be the more refined, better
more polished,
version.
Polished
a little
version.
more polished. First one was kind of like the concept. Yeah. And then that came apart to create this. And this is a 2016 Dodge Challenger body on that was the old Plaid Tesla right there, because this body fits the sedan dimensions much better. So like The dash lines up like perfect with the windshield. Like you'll
noticed
see
that. It's
after we're
weird.
done, like it looks like it was meant to be. It's crazy. So everything lines up way better with this. And so I found out that the wheelbase of one of these was the same. And I was like, that'd be a perfect way to like, you know, do something else with the Tesla because I'm not going to make it a Plaid
Right.
ever again. So got a Challenger body and cut it up. And now we got the Cybercat right here.
The Cybercat.
Yeah.
So now with the Cybercat, right? I noticed that you have this pattern of like looking at the wheelbase when you're looking up on Google. Is there anything else that's factored into making sure that can fit into a chassis?
The width a little bit.
Just
Gotta
the
make
width?
sure the width is close enough, but most cars, a lot of cars nowadays, like a lot of cars follow the same standard for like width too. I mean, because you got the width of the lanes in traffic, you got
Right.
width for parking space in your garage. Like most cars are pretty in
Similar,
the realm
right.
of like the same. You obviously got different stuff, but I figured it would be nothing. My only worry would be if the body's too narrow,
Right.
that would be a
Problem.
big deal. If it's too wide, it's fine because you can just kind of go over everything and like just maybe add some wheel spacers or something.
Yeah.
But the Challenger, the minivan body was like it was a little wider, so it slipped on easy. The Challenger is like almost perfect, and it makes more work because it's like around the dash instead of like the metal from the van could just like slide over everything.
Yeah.
But the metal from the Challenger and the metal in the Tesla are like this. They like line up together. So I have to like make the choice. Like, do I cut material off the Tesla?
Yeah.
And like you kind of have to combine them into one. So like, yeah, I can't really explain it, but it was like too perfect of a fit, which is a good thing, but it made me have to do more work. It would have been a lot easier if I could have just like slipped it on like a big
Right.
RC car body.
Yeah.
But I kind of had to like we had to spend a little more time to really like join them and clearance more. So
To make it
yeah,
work.
so like now if we put the minivan body back on this, it'd be like really loose.
Right.
Because we had to trim even more.
you had to make adjustments for that.
Yeah.
What inspired you to do this chassis? Were you looking for something that had a similar wheelbase, or you were just like, I want to put it in a Hellcat?
It was really just that the wheelbase was the same.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah, because I was on a wheelbase like database.
Yeah.
And I was just going through finding out what wheelbases are close to the Tesla. It's 116 and a half. And there's not that many options. And like this database has stuff from like 60s, 70s. Like,
Oh, wow.
It's a full wheelbase database. And so I was going in the range of like, I would go as far as like 2 inches off either direction, either like 2 inches narrower or 2 inches wider. I looked at like every model
Yeah.
in between, and most of them were just unrealistic. It'd be like some older car that like it'd be hard to find or
Right,
something.
right.
And then, but the Challenger popped
pretty
up
common,
and
yeah.
it was 116 and a half on the money. Same as it's actually a better fit than the van was.
Oh, wow.
So I thought about the idea. I was like, I don't know how cool that would be. I thought it'd be kind of lame. And I was hanging out with the C-Boys one day actually, and I ran the idea by them. I'm like, because they saw my Plaid Odyssey. I found out that a Challenger would actually fit better because I think they were asking me like, oh, like could you build one of these for us?
Yeah.
Like jokingly or something. I was like, well, if you want a good idea, like you could do a Challenger
Yeah.
because I know it's the same wheelbase. And I'm like, oh, that'd be sick. You should do it for sure. I was like, you think it'd be cool? They're like, yeah, that'd be sick. Like, and they kind of like talked me into it in my mind. I'm like, man, if they think it's cool, maybe it is kind of, because I didn't really think it was that cool at
Right.
first. And then I was like, yeah, you know what? There's a perfect opportunity. Took the van body off and put the Challenger one on it.
It's odd. It's fun. It's like the Odyssey. It's like the Odyssey. Same thing.
Yeah,
It's like you see this.
I mean,
doesn't
imagine
even-
that at a takeover, just like silent, just
Dude, that's a good idea. I think there was when
we
they
could do that.
came
We
out
could
with
do
the EV
stealth takeovers.
stealth takeovers.
Just a whole bunch of Teslas.
You know, with the
You'll hear the thud a lot more when
Yeah.
people get hit. No engine noises in the video. Just
dude. Would you ever do content like that, where you go to like do a takeover and
I mean, I don't know if I like actually. I don't want to be the guy to promote like that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Back then, yeah, I would have, but nowadays, I feel like I don't know. I don't need to get involved with all that. I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like
No, I agree.
I'd
I
love
agree.
to. It'd be fun, but I don't think it'd
Not a
be
good
my
idea.
best interest to
Yeah.
to attend a real takeover and get rowdy and possibly run someone over. They're reckless out there.
Man.
Maybe if it was like controlled, like at a spot where it's like a
Yeah,
like
That's what I'm
a
saying.
burnout contest or something, but
that'd be pretty interesting.
something about being at a real intersection though. I've never done it, but it looks kind of fun. I'd love to be a spectator at one of those.
Well, no, you don't.
I mean,
A
like
spectator.
yeah, but like 3 rows back
I was gonna say you don't want to be a
in
spectator.
a
one
safe
of those.
spot. I'd love to be a spectator.
Oh, okay.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna be the guy up there filming up close. That's
Those guys. Every day I see somebody getting flung. Every day.
yeah. I'd be a spectator, not a performer. I'm just watching. I'm just watching it go down.
Oh man, yeah. Let's stay away from the takeover stuff for sure. Well, yeah. This is a unique one. It was kind of weird when I saw you pull it up. I was like, damn, this is really like it's almost like a rolling chassis that you're sitting in, and it's just quiet.
Yeah, and I can't wait to put I'm gonna put the full interior back in it, make it all work. I mean, it still has like all the climate control stuff from the Tesla and the radio. It's all built into the platform, so it still has the heater, AC, everything still works normal. It's literally just taking the outer metal and just putting a different body on it. It is truly just like a big RC car.
And how are you charging it?
Through the charger, right? I can pop the trunk and it has the factory charge port, and I just plug into it. Like I just like kind of bend it this way a little bit. And it just goes right there. I'm probably going to shave the gas cap. Okay. Because there's a big shock tower right where that gas cap is. Yeah. So I'm gonna probably have to shave the like blend that in and make a new gas cap that's like just a little further back so the shock tower is not in the way. And then I'm hoping I can put the charge port right there and then like integrate the little motor arm so I can like hit the button and the gas cap opens like a Tesla, and try to integrate as many things as I can. What would be really cool is if we can I have all the stuff, all the hardware to, in theory, make the self-driving work still. So if I put the camera array back up and hook up all the fender cameras and everything, I should be able to get it good enough to where I can pay the subscription for the latest version of full self-driving from Tesla. And I think it would work to just like full self-drive itself, because it's all something that's cool about Tesla is that I didn't know until I like learned a little bit more. It's like all the way the FSD works is all through the cameras alone. So like I always had this understanding that there was like maybe like
sensors or something,
sensors in the bumper, like you know, to see how far away you are, like LiDAR, like, you know, whatever it is. But it's cool to see that it's literally all cameras. So like the depth perception and everything is learned through the camera. So it's basically like it just has eyeballs. Yeah. And that's what the AI uses to map its environment and learn from it. So there's no distance sensors, no nothing. It's just using the cameras and judging for itself how close it is to stuff. And that's how it builds the little, if you've been in a Tesla, it builds that little virtual map of what's
where you can
around
see everything.
And they can see far. Like there'll be a truck.
I know,
like,
it's crazy how far
down the road, and it's like, damn, that truck's like
mad far.
Like, I can barely see it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. So in theory, if we get all the cameras in their relative spot, you know, where they were on the Tesla, the car's not going to know any different. Right. Of what it's, you know, it doesn't, like I said, it's just end of the day, it's just the shape of the body. Right. If all the hardware is in the same location, it should all work the same.
It should. Has Elon seen any of this stuff? Have you
I have no idea.
No, he hasn't, like, you know, he haven't reached out like, hey man, look at I mean, you're not like that, but
they haven't reached out.
What do you think Elon would say if he saw this?
I really don't know. I feel like it could go both ways. I feel like he would be a love it or hate it kind of guy. I think.
It's hard to kind of read what
I'd like to say that I would like to say that he likes it. I'd hope that he appreciates the creativity, but I also feel like there's a part of him that's like, why the hell are you doing that with our cars? They're already like great. Like you don't need to do that shit.
Until you explain,
because I don't know. I feel like he might not have that like car guy creative side of him, right? Where he's like, he has like that more engineering mindset, where it's like, this is perfect as it is. Like, why would you mess with it? Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know. I would hope he likes it though.
Interesting. Shout out to Elon, man.
He also likes he likes humor and memes. So I think like maybe the Challenger, I don't know, but I think the minivan he'd find the humor in. He'd be like, okay, that's sick. He'd have to say that's sick. I don't know.
Or he might think it's AI or something.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. It would be awesome if we could I'd love to get the van back together and like bring it to like Texas, like Starbase or something, and just like find a day he's there and just at least let him like check it out. Even if it's like a brief 5 minutes of his time.
That video would go crazy.
That would be so sick. If I got Elon Musk to ride in the Odyssey.
What? That'd be sick. That'd go crazy.
I think he'd like it, man.
No, I think
especially if like the self-driving and everything worked, he'd be like, man, this is sick. But then I'd be worried he'd be like, get back. And when we're done, he'd be like, all right, what's the VIN on that thing? Shut it down. Yeah. Like, we can't. He might brick my car.
He'll on camera, he'll be cool. And then tell us after, it's like, yeah, just get rid of that.
Yeah, he'll be like, I like what you've done, but we can't have you doing this. Yeah. I don't know how he'd take it, but
that's interesting.
I mean, he goes on like Joe Rogan. He shoots the shit. Yeah. I think there's people. I think there's definitely stingier people at Tesla than him. Like he has people in place that make sure it runs efficient.
Those guys are the ones that are probably like.
Elon probably thinks it's cool, but he has people that work for him that would not like it at all.
No, 100%. So now you have this Odyssey. Now you have the K-swap in, right?
Yep.
Right. So
That one came before the Odyssey.
right. So now what are the plans with this one?
I don't have any plans per se. I mean, I want to get it in the 8s.
Dude, Honda Odyssey. And so is that the world's fastest Odyssey?
Right now it is, because the Odyssey technically beat it out, like barely. The Odyssey did a 951 in the quarter, and this did like a 955.
And it still counts even if it's not like it's not a engine.
That one's
motor.
hard to like count. Like, do you count that it was a real Odyssey?
Yeah.
So that one's like a gray area, but this is definitely the fastest full Honda powered Honda Odyssey.
And it's still got
I mean, some people might bring up, I mean, there's no other fast Honda Odysseys out there that are on the level of this one. You got like Busy Motos, which is really awesome, cool, clean, really cool build. But I mean, this would dust it.
Damn. You hear that? Anybody with an Odyssey out there, you can get the smoke.
I mean, there's no other faster Odyssey out there. I'm just saying.
He calling out all Odysseys right now.
Any Odyssey that wants to smoke, man.
It's so funny.
You got a gas powered one, electric. You pick.
It's just funny. I don't do call outs anymore, but it's just funny because it's like
Me and Busy Moto had a little like
for real joke, trolling though, right?
I don't think he actually likes us that much.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, you can talk about it. I don't care, but I don't think he likes us.
Why not?
I don't know. He didn't follow me back. We were like kind of friendly, like calling him out on Instagram, like back when this was front wheel drive and made power. Like I wanted to do a video where we like lined up with Busy because I think he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be a badass video, but I think we went out there for a Hoonigan thing, and like Scotto had his number or something, and I was out there with him. I'm like, he brought up Busy. He's like, would you guys be down to do like a this versus that, like Busy's Odyssey versus our Rowdyssey? Because we were down there with the MR2 for Ken Block's thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'd be down. I was like, but we're gonna dust that Odyssey. Like, it would. I mean, no, I love, like, it's no question, unless he's been doing something behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like, a full size front wheel drive J series 5,000 pound Odyssey like doesn't have a chance.
Right.
It's just realistic unless I break. That's literally the only way. But I think he texted him. He's like, oh, the BoostedBoiz are here. Like, let's do something. And from what I got, I think he like blocked his number.
What?
So I don't know how much of that I could share, but he's like, yeah, he just does not like us.
You think it has to do with like maybe him being like period correct with some of the stuff?
I'm not sure. I mean, maybe it's the way, like, we were never mean about it. We didn't call him out like oh, your shit's slow. Like,
but I mean, with what you're doing with the car, I mean.
Yeah, we made 700 horsepower on Brent's dyno, which was my tuner, and it made the power all hyped up. And Brent like goes into my camera. He's like, "Come mess with a real minivan, Busy." And he must have took that the wrong way, but
I mean, some people just.
I thought it'd be sick. Get some of the.
No, that'd be, dude. Yeah,
line up the two Honda Odysseys, man. It's like when you bring up fast Honda Odysseys, either you know who we are or you've heard of his.
Right.
Like, that's it. There's no other Odysseys in the conversation.
There's
a couple other case swapped ones like mine.
Yeah,
but they're not as serious.
I think it'd be great to kind of have you guys do like a whole like, like official whole legit thing, like a grudge match kind of thing.
It would be cool, but
like cinematic.
But I'd have to give him 10-second head start. This is what it is.
That's probably why he's had issues with you.
now I'm kind of.
That's probably why he's got issues.
No, well, now I'm leaning into it. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, nah, I'm sure he's just probably not understanding. He's misunderstanding.
Cool. He's like an OG Honda guy, and he has a wagon too. Like, I've seen his wagon. That thing's sick, and I have my wagon. It's like the same kind of deal. And yours
is like mint from what you showed me.
Yeah, it's in good shape. His is really nice too, though. And yeah, and like I found out about Busy because of my wagon, because like just how I found out about Speed Factory,
right?
Because I had a Honda Civic. Once I got my wagon, I had no idea who he was either, and I got a blue Civic wagon, and I was like, I don't know if I had the same thought. I was like, maybe someone's made a Civic wagon fast, and I look up like fast Civic wagon, and Busy was the first one to come up. I'm like, dude, that's sick. It's just like mine. Yeah, and he had that D series one back.
That's what I saw. Yeah,
a D series one. He has two of them because he also has a K series one that's all wheel drive.
I saw the D series one.
Yeah, he has a second one that's K series and it's all wheel drive.
Ah, okay.
And I guess that's the only thing that would make me sad about some of Busy's stuff is he has some badass cars, but I wish I got to see him do more stuff.
Yeah,
because I think they're more like SEMA.
Right.
They fall under the umbrella of like kind of SEMA builds.
Yeah,
they're capable of like really cool shit, but they're kind of built and set off to the side.
So with SEMA builds, people kind of have that thing too, where it's like you build your car for SEMA, but
yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. They do it. They do it just because they got sponsors to make happy and to make all this build up for one big day and one big reveal statement. There's definitely guys that go to SEMA that don't do it just for that. But I don't, that mindset of just like, man, we got to build this, grind just to make it to this one event to like showcase our company and our abilities. I guess I could see it either way. But
what about as far as like functionality? Like, you know, you're putting all these parts on to make a car, the performance parts more so, and you're not really using it for those reasons. Like some people have a thing where it's like you build a car for SEMA and you have all these performance parts on it, but you're not even using the car for what the parts are for. And it's just a show car at that point. It's like, what else are you doing? You never see the cars. A lot of the time you never see the cars, race or run on the street. They're just like literally built for show purposes. So I was asking what your take is kind of like on that. Like, but you kind of explained like you're not really into the whole SEMA build thing.
It doesn't make it wouldn't satisfy me.
Okay.
Like maybe they have a different mindset on it and that's totally fine. But I like to use the cars,
drive the cars
that we're going to build. You know, it's like you got a car that makes 1,000 horsepower. Do you not want to feel that shit like push you back in the seat and haul ass? Like some of the SEMA cars, I'm like, damn, that like this thing must be gnarly. And it's like find out they don't even use
run
it.
or
I'm
sometimes
like,
they don't even run.
It's like, I feel bad for the car. It's like the whole like let that thing eat, dude. Like do something cool at least once and then put it away.
Yeah,
So,
you gotta.
I feel like all that hard work, all that money, time.
Yeah,
they might not want to ruin it or get it dirty, but it's like you're building a car. Like it's the whole purpose of the car is to drive it and take you from point A to B, whatever that means. But at least it's moving. So not my cup of tea.
Yeah,
the SEMA build thing. But like I thought it would be cool to bring like the Odyssey or this to SEMA if they were like on that caliber, like really well refined and done.
Yeah.
Like I could see that side of it too, but I'm still going to use them when I'm done with SEMA.
So we won't ever see a SEMA build?
Maybe, you'll never see a dedicated SEMA build from me unless sometime in the future there's some huge amount of money offered and they're like, we need you to build this thing.
Yeah.
And it's just too good to pass up.
Yeah.
That's the only time it makes sense. And I think that's what happens with a lot of people. There's a big budget, a company. It's basically like a big write-off for them. Like we're going to build this really cool car. And I think that's where a lot of it comes from would be my guess.
Right.
It's really just a big advertisement.
You're right. It's true. It's just marketing. It's marketing material. But I mean, you do see some sick stuff there.
Yeah. And there's a lot of sick stuff that does get used.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying every SEMA build is like that, but obviously there are the SEMA builds that just get built and they never do anything.
Right.
Which I think is sad.
It's pretty interesting. It's kind of like sneakers. You know, some people buy sneakers.
Yeah, same thing with shoes.
Like they wear them. They don't want to crease them, but it's like, you know, some people feel like, well, wear them. They're on your feet for a reason.
But I'd say the argument with the shoes is at least there's like at least they're collectible, and
True.
and they hold their value if you don't use them. And I guess the SEMA cars would kind of be the same. I mean, it might go down in value, but
once that car rolls with the lot, it's not the same.
Yeah, but. Yeah, I don't know.
See what I'm saying?
It could go both ways. You could also see a SEMA build go to like the Barrett-Jackson auction and, you know, sell for 3 times what they have into it because they don't mess with it.
True.
Like I can see every angle. Yeah. But if that person, I mean, at some point someone has to use it. Come on. It's just going to go sit in a shop or museum or, I mean, it's what it is. Some people, I know people like this, they just honestly do enjoy the build process more than driving it. So I see that side of it too.
That's true.
They actually enjoy the challenge and the engineering of creating custom parts and the brackets. And, you know, they see it more as art other than a race car.
Then functional.
Like, this is a piece of art, not a car.
Right.
So I totally see it.
You see both sides of the spectrum. Right. Yeah. So now what is the most interesting project that you have right now that you feel is going to, I guess, break the internet again?
I mean, to me, I don't know if it'll break the internet, but I think the NSX is going to be the most interesting. Yeah. I got a really cool wheelie control idea.
Wheelie?
Yeah. To control the wheelies. So
different from Fuel Tech sensors?
Yeah, a lot different. It'll still have sensors on it. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the NSX. I'm going to try to put it on the new Fuel Tech FT700.
So you're running the FT700 on
we
the
don't
NSX?
have one yet.
Okay.
But I would like to have one for the NSX.
Yeah.
And
the Plus or just a regular size?
I don't know yet. I'd be happy with either one right now.
Yeah, the Plus might look nice in there because it's a nice size dash, right?
Yeah, if it's not overkill and like too massive, the Plus would be cool. But yeah, I'd love to do an FT700 in there. I mean, this NSX is going to be craziest K series build I'd probably ever do. It'll be like I have no more desire to push the platform farther after this NSX. The only way I'd go faster or spend more time and money on a K series at this level is if we did like one of those tube chassis rear-wheel drive cars.
Ooh, yeah.
And like go for like a 5, like something, or like 6s,
something
like run one at a World Cup or something like that. And they have events here that it could run at. That's not out of the realm of possible for us, but right now I don't have the team and the structure to take care of a car of that caliber. There's just no way between us doing all this stuff and filming. I'd have to have, several more like employees here to where I could justify trying to do a car at that level. Yeah, that takes a team to do. And unless we get to that point, this NSX will probably be the last high horsepower K series I do.
And then what do you think you're going to move on to?
I don't know. I don't know if I'll move on to just other platforms, but it's like I'll always be doing Honda stuff.
Yeah. But you're not going to push it.
But I'm going to step back from the high caliber race car stuff some.
Okay.
Between this NSX and the 2J Civic we got coming up.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of money and time to get them to run. I mean, just even dealing with this MR2 has already been enough. And it gets to a point to where it's not as fun for me anymore.
I feel like a lot of people
you hit the goals that you wanted, and then like I already hit the goals I wanted with that MR2 a long time ago, and we're continuing to push it because there was another MR2 faster than us. But you're really pushing them hard to go that fast. So I mean, it's like we get to only take it out 1 or 2 times before we got to pull the motor, because it's just at that level. I mean, top fuel car, they change the engine every pass.
It's crazy.
And we're not far off. Like if our K series was making 2,000 horsepower, we're not far off what a top fuel car is making power to displacement ratio. They're making 10,000 with 8 liters, we're making almost 2,000 with 2 liters. So we're not far off, and they literally change the rods every pass. So that's at a point where it wouldn't be as fun for me.
And the heads too, I think they changed, right?
I'm not sure, honestly.
I just spoke to a top fuel person today.
The supercharger gets like 3 runs. The heads, I don't know. I know the rods are done every pass.
Yeah, it's high maintenance.
I don't remember what the heads get, but I think I would. Ideally, I'd really love to mix in the high horsepower, legit stuff with more fun builds that are just almost just more for content and just like fun.
Yeah.
Can link up with people, collaborate, and it doesn't have to be a high caliber drag car all the time. Because I feel like I've fallen into this hole. Where it's like I feel like people expect me to just have a gnarly drag car, and I'm supposed to be drag racing it every second. And like doing the Odyssey was like really fun, and that's like not really a drag car. It's kind of like it's its own category. And cars like that I think are really fun too. So if I can keep coming up with new ideas, I don't know if I'll always be doing the drag stuff as much. This next year is going to be full of it because we have the NSX coming and the 2J Civic. But looking forward into the future, I don't know how far I'm going to take it, honestly. So
you don't feel like you're burnt out at all?
There's definitely days. It's like I don't think I'm burnt out on progressing as like a YouTuber and stuff, but I think I'm burnt out on certain, like building a transmission for the MR2. I get burnt out doing that because I've done it a lot.
So many
or
times,
putting a new engine in the MR2. A lot of stuff on the MR2 specifically I have got burnt out on because it's just very repetitive, and there's nothing like rewarding to me anymore about it. There's no new, I'm not learning anything new. It just is what it is. Like we're pushing the stuff to the limit, and you got to replace it all the time.
Yeah.
And the physical time it takes and money to just keep up with it starts to burn me out a little bit.
Yeah.
But I still love to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not burnt out that bad on that side of things. But as far as like, you see me talking about the NSX. Like when I have new ideas, I get fired up.
I know. So I could tell.
When I got new ideas, I'm really excited. So I got to do a good job of balancing what excites me. And there's no reason I have to keep pushing the MR2. Like, I could put it together, set it to the side. I want to beat the record that was beaten. But even if we still have the record, I mean, I could just set it to the side for a year or two and just take a break.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I still have that drive to keep pushing that platform far too. So
does any of the content like with the like the money motivate you at all ever?
it definitely does. It's just finding a way to do it that fits our style,
Okay.
that makes sense. Because like I said, I don't want to change too much just for the sake of making more money.
Yeah.
Because then I'm not going to enjoy it as much. And then I feel like if you're not passionate about it, it just falls apart really quick. And the best option, I think, is just to keep doing what I'm doing, continue to try to find good, like-minded people, see if I can continue to grow and expand out of this place.
Yeah.
My dream would be to have more room and a bigger shop and somewhere where we can grow into it a little more. And I can, hire a couple extra guys, because like I have Wyatt, who's helped me. He's been a long time friend of mine, and he's helped me tremendously. And if I could have like 2 or 3 more guys like him, just like even maybe they don't even have to be as good as working on the cars, but if I had someone that had the same enthusiasm I do with these new ideas, guys to bounce ideas off of, a good group of guys around me that hype me up at the same time, and we just make fun content together. I mean, yeah, that's all I could ask for. So I want to continue to just keep doing what I'm doing, try to grow it, because might as well try, right?
Yeah.
We're already here. So
Yeah.
I don't plan on slowing down. I'm pretty excited to keep pushing along.
What was like your biggest payday on YouTube, or pay month, I should say?
It's hard to say. I mean, it'd be hard to say just straight off like ad revenue or everything combined.
I guess ad revenue. I mean, because you're pulling in some views. Maybe it's hard to say with sponsors and stuff too, because it's kind of like over the course of time, right? It's not really like on the monthly basis, maybe, or it could be.
I'll just say on average, our channel, just based on ad revenue, is probably around the 20 to 30,000 range.
Damn, you have to tell me the exact number. That's crazy.
I don't care. I mean, some people like to know that stuff.
Yeah.
And we've definitely had better months and we've had worse months, and the giveaway months help.
Mm-hmm.
And the months I can stay on top of doing ads and stuff help.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can kind of leave it there for people to speculate, but it's nothing too crazy, I'd say. I mean, I'm super happy with where we've gotten it to, and I've been able to kind of sustain it here. But I mean, when we're working on like high performance builds and stuff, and running the shop, and like keeping, and having the thought of hiring more and more people, like that money can go quick.
Yep. So
I have different sources of revenue that, are all tied to the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But that's about where we're at, just like on average. When we're really going on good months, I can make more for sure.
Yeah.
And then like this last January, I didn't post anything, so I'm probably gonna be well below that. So
you'll still have
it's always kind of like this.
Yeah.
It's like you have your good months, your bad months, and I just got to make sure I'm at a good consistent spot before I just don't want to bite off more than I can chew. That's always what I'm afraid of.
Right.
Like I'm in a spot where I could probably hire a couple more guys, and I could afford it, but like 2-3 bad months in a row, like I might be like, bro, I can't pay you guys this month.
Yeah.
Like, I'm scared, because it's almost like I don't know if we're ever going to fall off. Like, I don't know if maybe one day our views just start dropping dramatically or not. I'd assume everyone's going to continue to watch if I keep putting out,
of course,
good, similar content to what we're doing now.
Got a solid fan base. So.
But I feel like I don't know if other business owners feel that way, but it's like this thought of like, man, what if one mistake I could make and it goes away like, in a month. So I want to be in a more comfortable position. Mainly, like I said, if I know I want to grow out of this place. If I get to a point where we get a bigger property, I have a bigger shop, and I can work hard to like have it close to paid off, to where I know I can always fall back on it. And there's like not going to be some huge billet every month. Then I might have a little less, I'll be willing to take like more risks on like paying more people, making sure they're paid really good, because I don't need anything more for like me per se.
Right.
Like build the good base to grow from, because like right here, we can only expand so much in this little shop.
Right.
If I go crazy now or like try to hire people now, it's like, I mean, we don't have the infrastructure or property to like really do it, I feel like.
Right.
So.
No, I agree. And I'm asking more so for like, I always ask that question, not the pocket watch, but just to because it's a business at the end of the day. Like, you may not look at it like that, but you know, to do these kind of things that you're doing, you have to have the money to fund it. So like a shop owner would have different overhead than what you would have. So yeah, you may be pulling in 20, 30K, but it's not like you're just chilling, going to the club and spending that money, buying it on sneak. You know, maybe you could, but like you still have to run the channel. And that's basically like what's
Yeah. I mean,
funding
once you factor in, I mean, just all the bills involved.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to pay my guys good. I got the mortgage. I got the car. I mean, by the time it's all over, I mean, there's not much left. The only reason I can even consider expanding from here is staying on top of like the sponsorship ads.
Yeah.
Doing those and staying consistent with giveaways, because those are the only times where I'm like, okay, this is like extra money now.
Right.
Like I can actually take this somewhere. That's when we get on top of that stuff, it's when I feel like, okay, now we have some room to breathe. But if it was just down to ad revenue, I'm like on a fine line.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I like to keep it. I'm like, if the ad revenue can't keep up, then because to me, everything ends with you. Like it all stems from YouTube.
Yeah.
So like if the views ain't there, the giveaway ain't going to be there.
Right.
The ads are going to start paying us less. So I'm like, until that revenue number consistently comes up, then, you know,
right.
That's kind of my mindset on it. I don't know if that makes sense.
It's scary, man. Like, I mean, it's part of the business, but like it's being a content creator and doing YouTube is like people want to do it, but like when you're doing it full time, it's stressful.
A lot of work,
it's a lot of
being
work.
an automotive YouTuber. I mean, it's almost impossible unless you have to be really creative and you just have to really get people's attention. And it's just hard now.
Yeah.
It's tough. I know a lot of automotive YouTubers that just don't do it anymore because it's straining. I mean, there's really not many new automotive YouTubers either, if you think about it.
Nah, it's all OGs.
When you got like Whistling Diesel, he's kind of in his own category, but he definitely relates to the automotive side. He's like him and like Weston Champlin, like at least that I can, like big creators, you know, that like really stick out to me. There's not many channels I can think of that are like a sustained over 1 million that have been that way like in recent times. Like it's not often you see it. It's not
views you talking about?
No, like subscribers.
Oh, subscribers. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Like there's not many million plus subscribed automotive channels. And I mean, I think it just goes to show how hard it really is.
Yeah.
Like I look back and I'm like, dude, I don't even know how we did it. Honestly, it's like crazy to look back because I just been messing with Hondas.
Yeah.
Like I haven't branched out into any other platforms. Like we've been doing the same recipe for like years now. I'm like, I'm surprised people still come back to watch me, dude. It's like I'm just blowing up a K series every other week. Or I'm working on the same stuff I did 5 years ago, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, the Tesla stuff has been new, which definitely drove a lot of attention to our channel. But other than the Tesla stuff, it's like I'm working on the same Civic. I got the same minivan. I got the same MR2, which is good. I love that everyone comes back because I'm just doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, that should make me optimistic for the future that like maybe if I do branch out more and do more things that it would translate to more views and stuff. But
yeah,
I don't know. Automotive YouTube's hard.
It is.
Especially when you're on your own. If you got to do all the work yourself, it's like I'd be pretty screwed without Wyatt right now helping me.
Yeah, teamwork.
Because of him, I've been able to focus on like just like other things besides working on the car 24/7.
Right.
Because a lot of the videos were just me working 8 to 2 in the morning, like every day.
Yeah.
Week after week. Like I was just didn't stop. And then it makes me understand the importance of having good help around. And so I definitely want to build on that, get more good help. And I think I want to get to a point where my mindset transitions more to where I don't have to invest in the business side of it, but I can invest in good people.
Right.
And like feel like be proud that I'm paying like a team of people like really well and like supporting them.
Yeah.
Like instead of like buying a $200,000-$300,000 car, like I'd rather pay my friend really good because like me being like, if I could afford to pay a guy like $150,000-$200,000 a year, like that has more value to me to have him for that whole year of all the memories and like just having someone there that's like-minded with you than to like just have a expensive item to me.
Right.
So like I'd love to get to a point where I can really invest a lot of money in people, but I'm not very business savvy. So I'm just
that's a business savvy. What you're saying is business savvy. You're not going and blowing on the car. You're
like you'd never I'd have to have such an absurd amount of money to like if you caught me with a Rolex, like I just have to like not even care at that point. But I just don't feel like I could spend money on like objects like that. I don't know who I'd be trying to impress or whatever. It's just
I
guess I get it. It's like it's nice to have nice clothes, like do your stuff here and there. But I feel like that's just if I was ever a billionaire, I'd be the billionaire in like a t-shirt and like pulling up in a Honda
or wearing your own merch.
Yeah, like I don't think I'll ever change, really, honestly. So
yeah,
and that's why I'm like I'm pretty content. Like it could all go away tomorrow, and I'm like I'm chilling. Like I've been on both sides of it. I know what it was like to grind like from nothing, and to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I couldn't complain if everyone just was like, "Nah, you're boring," and stopped watching. I'd be like, honestly, I had a good run. Honestly, I'm chilling. Whatever.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
But
no, I agree.
hopefully that doesn't happen. I'm gonna keep going. But it is what it is.
So when are we gonna be able to see like you run at the next event? When's the next event for you where you can see you run at?
Well, technically, the next event will be Sick Week, which is next week.
Next week
coming up. So yeah,
okay.
We'll be going on Sick Week, and then pretty much any of the main events you could think of that are going to be at Bradenton.
Yeah.
Since we're so close. I don't know anything else in between. Like obviously, like FL2K, all that's ways out.
Ways out.
But yeah, we'll be going on Sick Week, and I'm just going to try to race as much as we can this year.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that's going on in Florida, we'll probably be there if we have a car that fits the class, and got a lot of stuff coming up. So
awesome! I'm excited to see what you're gonna do with this NSX. That's gonna be a huge deal. You guys can check that out on his channel. You can't check it out here, but there will be a clip of it going up. So go check it out on his channel to see what he's doing with that. And I'm curious myself to see how that's gonna work out. We can't really speak about it much, like I said, but yeah, can't wait to see that coming probably in the next month or so.
Yeah, chassis is done, so I just gotta find a way to get it down and get her put together.
Yeah. So if you guys are at Sick Week, make sure you guys go check out Kyle and his van
and the Rowdyssey.
So make sure you guys go check out Kyle and his van at Sick Week next week. And if you guys do want to reach out to Kyle, which you guys probably, if you're watching this, chances are you know his social media platforms. But if you are not familiar with Kyle, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me BoostedBoiz or BoostedBoy Kyle on Instagram and BoostedBoiz on YouTube.
BoostedBoiz.
BoostedBoiz.
BoostedBoiz. And did you switch it back?
It's still BoostedBoy Kyle at the time of filming this, but
yes,
I think they want me to go back.
Okay.
I wanted to try BoostedBoy Kyle for a bit, but they didn't let me.
Yeah, I know.
I wasn't allowed to be independent. It had to include everybody.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to try that. Like that's the formula that everyone uses. But we'll probably go back to BoostedBoiz.
Okay. Well, there you have it. I appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I came here so late. I had to drive so far.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I'm happy that we were able to make this happen. And hopefully we can do some content together in the future when my car's done, because he said he wants to run the Odyssey against it. So it's pretty
I'll have 2 minivans that are ready to walk you whenever you want.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. But yeah, I'm excited for that. So thanks again, man. I really appreciate your time. It's been a great episode for sure. So for those of you guys who are listening and watching, make sure you guys hit that like button if you're watching the premiere. And if you're listening, make sure you keep listening on all streaming platforms. Until next time, guys, I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.